I have this beautiful kind of a 335 type box guitar, flat wound strings, zero nut or zero fret I should say, and this is a Crown professional guitar played by a very good jazz guitarist here in our community. We're gonna do a full setup on this guitar and repair a few things that the owner wants taken care of. Number one, the Bigsby is loose and wobbly, so we're gonna fix that. And then the tone controls for both the bridge position and neck position pickups, the tone controls are backwards, meaning when you roll them off or to zero, it gets bright, and as you turn them up, it gets dull. The wires are crossed on that. So we're gonna fix that, and I'm gonna have to work through this F-hole in the side of the guitar. Fortunately, the controls are right here close, so that shouldn't be that big of a deal. Probably end up pulling the pick guard off to make a little room for myself. We'll give this guitar a good cleaning. As you can see, it's got some grime and crud on it. We'll check all the electronics. I did notice that this volume pot right here is a little dirty. It's had some gravelly scratching going on, so we'll shoot some cleaner in that, get that squared away, do a full setup on this thing. The cool thing is that they gave me 1 day to do it, which means this job just got really expensive. We'll adjust the intonation, make sure that's all good. Flat wound strings, so we'll check the neck relief, make sure that's all in shape. The idea here is to set this up with Gibson specs. The truss rod works. Hopefully you can see that someone has wasted that key in the end of that. Unfortunately, I was able to get a 5mm Allen key to turn that. The neck had a pretty tremendous back bow, but with those heavy strings, or the 12-gauge strings, I'm guessing that would have corrected. But I've flattened the neck. I have begun work on the tone pots to get those reversed. I'm in the process right now of cleaning the fretboard, and so you can see what it looks like now. Up here where people play the guitar a lot, the frets are a bit shinier and look a little more polished, and there's definitely some fret wear on these frets. I'm going to polish these frets and clean the fretboard, and then we'll move on to fixing the electronics. I have a method to my madness, so we'll explain that here in a bit. Here we are, cleaning another fretboard. Look at that gut come off of there. You guys got to see how nasty this was to begin with. And look at the sludge coming off of there. Isn't that awesome? It's like it's just poop on the fretboard. And you're putting your hands on that every time you play your guitar. It's just sad. Be sure to, when you change the strings, to clean the fretboard, or when you're done playing, wipe it down with a rag and keep all this guck off of the fretboard. The guitar will play better and feel better, look better. Nasty. Pretty big difference in these frets on this guitar. And the fretboard. Look at that. There isn't goo, there isn't sludge, poop, or anything else on there. I have oiled it with linseed oil and polished up to 2000 grit. So I'm going to do a little bit more cleaning and get to the electronic issue. We have the controls out of the body of the guitar. I'm not about to lose any of them down on the inside of the guitar, because we have connected wires to each one of the control pots to be able to pull them back through the interior of the guitar. Kind of explain to you why I have a piece of guitar string tied to each one of these pots here, and that is so that I can drop them down into the inside of the guitar body and then pull them back up through the holes. Kind of hard to videotape that while I'm doing it, so I didn't. I also, just like cutting the guitar strings off the headstock, I leave these on here until I get all of the nuts fastened. I'm able to test the guitar, and the idea here was to reverse these tone pots. I'll tap on this pickup. I'll turn the pickup up to 10. So right now the tone pot is turned all the way down, and when I turn it up, now we had to reverse these. These were reversed, so we just swapped the wiring on each terminal and the capacitor. Boom, problem solved. Not an easy repair though. A lot of patience and effort going to getting that project done. Really fun. I get to do the same thing on my own guitar here coming up in the next week or so. So probably have some video of that. So the next thing I'm going to do is get to work on setting this thing up and get the Bigsby back on it. And we will go from there. I'm going to pull the wires now that the pickups are back in perfect working order. And we even cleaned the volume pots out, so they're nice and quiet now. Well, I might need to get a little more cleaner down in there. We'll see what happens. We have the Bigsby back on it. Have the pick guard back on it. We've done a good cleaning and polishing of the whole guitar and all the little cavities and areas where dust gets down in there. We've cleaned this thing up and cleaned under the pick guard, got all the dust and guck out of there. Got a couple dust bunnies out of the interior of the guitar while we were in there doing some work. It's time to string this girl up and do a complete setup on this thing. I've already leveled the fretboard, so we'll get strings on it and see what kind of neck relief we have and what we have to do to the truss rod. I've oiled the truss rod. I've also applied oil to all the rollers on the saddle here, and a little bit of oil to the screws to adjust the intonation, and cleaned all that up and got the metal nice and clean and polished up the Bigsby, tightened up the handle. This was something that the owner was really concerned about, which we were able to install a washer down in here to get that all nice and solid. It feels really good. When I get strings on it, we'll know more. But time for some flat wound 12 gauge D'Addario strings. Well, it's all strung up. Bloom. Look at those frets, just beautiful, shiny and beautiful. Interesting on the saddle here, you can see these slotted rollers. Got to get the string spacing just right, and as you can see, I'm kind of questioning a couple of them here. We'll get them dialed. For intonation. The crown is done. We're letting it hang overnight to allow any backlash that the truss rod might want to give us from being tweaked as much as it was, to allow it to settle. Pull some measurements, remeasure everything tomorrow in the morning, and the guitar is done at this point, ready to go home. So if you have a guitar you need worked on, bring it to me at LaGrange Stereo Music. Hit subscribe and hit the like button, and send me all kinds of money so I can keep making these videos. Y'all have a great day. Peace.